Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So in the last video, we saw a quick way to handle and validate form in React.js using React Hook form package. But in this video, I want to show you how you can handle and validate form in React.js without using any external package or library. And that is because most of the big companies, they use minimum external libraries and packages. Let me show you the demo. So this is the same form we used in our last video, and the validations are also almost same. The only difference is that we are not using the React hook form and we did every validation natively. So if I click on the submit button, we are going to get an error that the username is required, email is required, and password is required. So if I fill the username, so let me type the page, then now if I try to submit it, then it will give me an error on the email and the password. So let's try with the email, and if we try to submit it, then the email is not a valid email. So we need to have a @gmail.com, and now if I try to submit it, then it's a valid. And for the password, if we are less than 4 characters, then it's going to give us an error that password must be more than 4 characters. And if we go more than 10 characters, then again it's going to give us an error. And if we satisfy all the three fields, then we should be able to submit the form. And when I submit the form, then we signed in successfully. So if this sounds interesting, then stick around. Also, don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. So let's get started.
Alright guys, if you are looking for a full-time job opportunity for you, then I have an exciting news from Relevel by Unacademy. It is India's first platform to help all aspirants have access to their dream job. By taking the Relevel test, they engage in comprehensive skill assessment, which industry evaluates relevant skills and their job readiness. If you wish to showcase your skill to the best companies in India like Cred, Grow, Upgrade, Misho, and many more, then what you can do is you can take part for the Relevel test for free on the platform based on your skills and time. And if you pass the Relevel test, they guarantee minimum package of 4 lakhs per annum for non-tech roles and 6 lakhs per annum for tech roles. People are getting packages up to 15 lakhs per annum as well. There is no age or experience limit for the eligibility. If you are 18 plus or 40 years of age, you can attempt the Relevel test to get 50% plus hike for your next job in the best product based companies. Relevel has changing lives for months now. Find all the people who took the best decision of their lives with Relevel through their platform with the Relevel Achievers Twitter handle. Let's see how we can register for the test. So we will go to the Relevel platform and just click on the Get Hired. Now, based on the skills, we will select the test. I will select front-end development test. We can see the details and then we can select the slot based on our availability. And then we just need to upload our video resume. That's all. Sit back, take the test, and companies will reach out to you based on your score. You will find all the links related to the Relevel in the description of the video.
All right, guys, so this is the same code which we used in our last video, and I have removed everything. I have removed the React hook form library and the usage of the library for this form. And I have only kept the simple JSX where we have the form tag. Inside the form tag, we have an H1. So I changed the registration to login. And then we have a divider. We have a div with a UI form. So all these classes are coming from the semantic UI. And then we created the fields for username, email, and password, and a button to submit the form. And if I click on the submit, nothing is going to happen. It is just the plain JSX, or we can say the HTML of the form. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to manage the state of our fields using the use state. So let's create the state variable. So what I will do, I'm going to create a constant with the initial values, and I need the initial values to be a object, and this object will contain the username. So this will be a username and empty field, and then I'm going to have an email which will be an empty, and then I'm going to have a password which will also be an empty. So this is the initial state I want to have. And now what I will do, I'm going to create a state. So my name of the state will be form values, and I'm going to have set form values, and this will be equals to the use state. So I need to import the use state. So let's go here and import the use state. So I'm going to make a import, and you can import the use state like this. And this will be coming from the React. So let's add the React. So if you don't know about the use state, then I have a video on it. You can click on the card above and jump to it directly. So now we have the use state. We have make use of the use state. We need to pass an initial value, and this will be the initial value we created. So let's pass it here. All right, so now we have the initial values, and now what we will do, we are going to go to the input fields and we are going to bind the value of the input field with this form values. So this is my input field. I'm going to add a value, and the value will be the form values. So I'm going to add the form values dot, this will be an username. So let me just do a copy paste. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add it here, and this will change to email, and this will become the password. So let me add the password here. All right, so we have added the values and now it's linked with our use state. So next thing we need to do is whenever we write something in the form field, we need to bind or update the value of the username or email or password. So we need to add an on change. So let me add a on change here, and on change I'm going to handle the change. So I'm going to create a function with a handle change. So let's copy this and add it to all our input fields. So I'm going to add it here as well. All right, so we have added and now we need to create the function first. So let's write a function. So I'm going to write a constant. This will be a handle change and it's an arrow function. So let's have the arrow function and we are going to get the event here. So let me have the event and I'm just going to do a console dot log of event dot target, and let's see what we get it. So now let's go here and let's do the inspect element. And if I go to the console and let me clear the console, and if I type anything, then I actually get the input element itself. So what we are going to do is first we are going to, let's destructure. We need two fields. We need the name of the input field and we need the value of the input field. And these both are available in the event dot target. Now what we can do is we are going to set the form values. So let me set the form values, and this is an object. So first I'm going to take all the initial state, so that will be equals to the form values. And once I get the initial state, next thing I will do is I'm going to add a name and I'm going to add the value for that name. So let me add the value here. So let me add the value. All right, now let's do a console log. So I'm going to do a console log of the form values. So we have set the form values and now see what we have in this form values. So I will refresh it. I will go to the inspect element in the console. I will clear the console. And if I type anything, so let me first remove this console of the event target. We don't want it. And now if I type anything, the page, then you will see that what we are getting is here. If I go here, then here you will see that we have the email, we have the name field, and we have the password and the username. But this is not what I want. So what I will do, I'm going to add a square braces here so that it's going to take the username as the key and then it will assign the value to the key. All right, so now if I save it, I refresh it, then let's type something. So if I type the page, then you will see that we have the page here and we get the field. So in this way, we whatever we type in this in form, we are going to set the values of the form in the form values. All right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to submit the form. So whenever I click on the submit form, I need to see all the values. So what I will do, I will go to this form, and on the form, we are going to create a on submit. So let me add an on submit, and I'm going to give it as a handle submit function. And let's create the handle submit. So I'm going to have a constant. This will be a handle submit, and we are going to have an arrow function, and it will get an event. And we are going to add event.prevent so that we can prevent it, the page getting refreshed. So I'm going to add a event.prevent default, and I will not do a console log, but what I will do is I'm going to add something here so that we can see uh, our data, whatever the data we are filling in the form. So here I'm going to add a pre. All right, and inside the pre I'm going to add a JSON dot stringify, and this is going to stringify the form values for us. I'm going to give an undefined second parameter, and I'm going to add 2. All right, so now if I type anything here, I should be able to see it in my uh, text here. So I have a test@gmail.com, and the last one is the password. And now if I click on the submit, the page will not get refreshed. But we need to make the use of a validation, because if I do a empty fields and if I click on the submit, then it will still be able to submit. So what we need to do, we need to validate the form. So we are going to create a validate function that is going to validate the form values. So I'm going to write a validate function here. So I'm going to create a constant, and then I'm going to write a validate. This will be an arrow function. All right, and it will first take all the form values which we have submitted. So that will be the form values. And what we need to do whenever we submit the form, we are going to pass these form values. So I'm going to call a validate function, and inside the validate function, I'm going to pass the form values. But what we need to do is I'm going to create one more state variable for our errors. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add it here, and I will just change this to errors, and this will become errors, and the initial will be an empty object. All right. And then whenever we do a handle submit, I'm going to set the form errors. So I made a spelling mistake. So let's copy this and let's pass the form errors here. All right, so we are now taking all the form values, we are passing it to a validate function, and whatever the outcome of the validation, we are setting it in the form errors, which is an object. So inside this validate function, I'm going to create an errors object. So let me have an errors object, the initial object. And I'm also going to write a regex for our email. So I will just do a copy paste of the regex, which you can get it from the internet for validating the email. And now I'm start going to check for each of the values. So if this values dot username, all right, if we don't have the username, then what I will do, I'm going to write a errors dot then to the username, and I'm going to add it here as username is required. All right, so this is for the username. Similarly, I'm going to have it for the other two. So if this is an email and if this is an password, then we need email is required, and here it will become password is required. All right, and then what we will do is in the end, we are going to return this error. So I'm going to return here the error object. So I have returned the error object from here, and this error object will be now set in the set form errors, which is the form errors which we have making the use state and has the initial value of an empty object. So what I will do, I will create one more use state variable, and that will be for the just a flag for our submit. So is submit, and I'm going to set it as set is submit, and the initial value of the flag will be the false. So I'm going to make it false. All right. And whenever I click on the submit button, I will set this flag to true. So I'm going to set this flag to true. All right, so we have set the is submit as true. And what I want that as soon as all the three fields satisfy the validation criteria, I need to able to submit the form. So for that, I'm going to make use of the use effect. And what I will do, I will going to write a use effect here. So this will be an use effect, and it is going to have an arrow function, and it will get changed based on the forms arrays. So I'm going to add a dependency of the form arrays here. And inside this, what I will do, I'm going to make a check that if my object dot keys, so this is the object of the forms error object. And if it's keys, so I need to pass the forms error inside the keys. And if the length of this is equals to 0, and along with that, I'm going to check the is submit flag. If the is submit flag is also true, and if both the conditions satisfied, then I will just simply do a console.log of my form values. So these form values will be the correct form values with a proper handling of the form and the validation. All right, and then I'm just going to do a console.log of my errors object. So if we see that if we have any errors or not, so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add it here. All right, and now let's give a try. So if I go to the inspect element, if I clear it, then let me type the page, and if I click on the submit, then I will see that says password is required, which is not so correct, and it says username. So let's go to the validation. So I need to have an email, and here I need to have password. All right, so now let me give it a try, and now it says properly that email is required and password is required, but we are not able to display the error messages. So let's go and display the error message. So this is my fields div, and here I'm just going to write a paragraph tag, and inside the paragraph tag, what we have, our errors are in the form errors dot email. So if this is a username, then this will become a username. I'm just going to copy this and I will add it here for the email. So let me add the email, and I'm going to add it here for the password. So let me add the password. All right, so now we have saved it, and now we can, as soon as I save it, you can see that we get the email is required and the password is required. So let me remove this and let me refresh it. And now if I click on the submit, so let me increase the screen first. So now if I click on the submit, then you will see that all the three fields are required. And now if I start typing anything and if I submit it, then it will say email and password is required. So this is how it is working. And we can also do one more thing is we can add more criterias here. So what I will do, I'm going to add simply some more criteria. So if my email, the email is required, and I'm going to add it here, else if regex dot test and test the email. So I'm going to add values dot email, and this complete if it's not equal, then I'm going to add a error dot email, and this error dot email will be that this is not a valid email. So I'm going to write this is not a valid email format. All right, similarly for the password, we can add it. So I'm going to just copy this. I'm going to add it here, and this will become values dot password. And if this is less than 4, then I'm going to change this to password, and this will become password must be more than 4 characters. All right, and if I want to add one more, so I will add it. This will become greater than. So I will change this password cannot exceed more than 10 characters. So this will become 10. All right, so now we have all the three types of validation. And once last thing we do, if everything gets satisfied, we need to be able to have a sign in successfully, something like that. So I'm just going to write here. So I'm going to copy this condition. So if I have this condition satisfied here, so let me add it here. All right, so if I have this condition satisfied, if it's true, then what I want to have a div with a class name of UI message success. All right, and then inside that, I'm going to close this div, and here I'm going to write sign in successfully. All right, and but if this is not satisfied, then the other condition will be we need to add the pre-statement. So let's add this. I'm going to cut it, and I'm simply going to add it here. So then I'm going to add it here. All right, so now I have saved it, and we should be able to see everything. So let me expand the screen. I will refresh my page. So if I submit it, then it will say all the three fields are required. Then let me type the page, and if I submit it, then it will say that email is required. Let me add the email and then submit it. So it will say that this is not a valid email format. So I'm going to add a Gmail, and then I will try to submit. It's still not a valid. So I'm going to add a gmail.com. All right, so now last thing, the password. So I'm going to add just 3 characters and let's see, submit it. Then password is required, it says, but it should give me that password cannot be less than 4 characters. So let's go back and let's see actually what we did it here. So if the values dot password, I need to add a length here. So we need to check the length here actually. So I'm going to add length here and here. All right, so I need to refresh my page. So let me refresh the page. I'm going to add the page here. I'm going to add test@gmail.com. And if I submit, I will get password is required. And if I add 3 characters, and now if I submit it, it will say password must be more than 4 characters. And let's go beyond 10 characters. Then it should give us the password cannot exceed more than 10 characters. So all the 3 fields are having a proper validation and we have satisfied all the criteria. And now if I click on the submit, then I'm getting assigned in successfully. So this is how actually you can handle form and validate the form without using any of the library. Of course, libraries help you to write a very less code, but you should also know how you can do stuffs natively. So I'm going to add the complete code of this native React form handling in the GitHub repository for your reference so that you can download it and you can play around it. So that's all I have in this video. I hope you liked the video. A thumbs up is appreciated. You can also connect with me via Facebook or Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter for latest updates. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. Thank you. Thanks for watching.